Last night I chaired a meeting between two unlikely groups. One was a couple of officials from a big power company, a dirty company, and the other is a bunch of pretty angry tree huggers who had just had all their bills for clean energy trounced in the legislature by the power company. So what I was basically trying to do is avoid bloodshed in this meeting, but it actually turned out to be a remarkable event. So I wanted to talk about something that occurred to me. As an artist, I am a creative person, and one of the curses of a creative mind is I get ideas in the middle of the night. So in the middle of the night, I got this idea for an imaginative way of looking at our situation that I wanted to share. I think of an image of a graph with this being money and this being time. And our development of our energy needs creates a kind of a curve like this that represents the fact that things are going to get more difficult and expensive as the effects of climate change begin to accumulate. And we need to do something quickly. The more we act, the more proactively that we act, the easier it'll be, but it's still going to be trouble. So recently, I bought some solar panels, and this was an expense for me. I didn't want to spend my money that way, but rather than just carrying on the line of expediency, doing whatever is cheap and easy at the time, I spent a great deal of money to buy these panels. But having installed them, then they produce power free for the rest of my life. Now, I bought twice as many panels as what I need. So every single day, I'm producing more power than I use. So I'm a little bit like a tree. Maybe not a beautiful one, but I get to give away power every single day. Now, at the time, right now, the only taker is really the power company. And in fact, they're taking my free power, and what they're doing in return is publishing articles in which they call people like me thieves who are stealing from my neighbors, which is not only not true, but it's really not helpful for this situation. But it helps them pass their bills in the legislature, and that's something that's got to be fixed. But what I get to do is I get to be a person who gives free power away every single day. And that feels pretty great. Now, right at this point, it doesn't look like a very big deal because we tend to have this kind of myopic view of our circumstance. We tend to look at the situation right in front of us and not be able to see the bigger picture. So if you look just at this much, it doesn't look like a very good deal because I've spent a lot of money and it's going to take me a little while to pay off the system that I bought. But at a certain point, I start seeing the savings that results from having these panels on my ceiling, on my roof. And I not only get to reap the monetary benefit of that, but as I say, I get to be this kind of magnanimous person. Now, part of the arguments that I heard from the power company made me aware of this very myopic vision because the spokesperson, who is very articulate and I think is doing a great job for his company, is talking about this line of expediency. They are constrained by time, which is moving this way, by the pressure of having to keep expenses low, and by the effects of climate change moving this way. All of those are like the laws of nature. They're physical forces that cannot be denied. We all have to live within that. And so this line is kind of what nature creates for us. if we do what's expedient, we're all going to end up on this highway or a railroad track. And I heard this over and over in terms of like, we have to, the company representative saying we have to respond to the investors, or we have to provide cheap power for poor people because we all want power as cheaply as we can get it. That's taking this train, the train of expediency here. And that's perfectly understandable. It's the way everybody operates. We all try to keep costs low. We try to do things expediently. But the power company has another option. If they use their imagination, they could see to it to spend extra time and effort to create an investment in clean energy that will produce basically the same kind of straight line. It costs a lot up front, and it's going to take advantage of the forces of nature, wind, solar, geothermal, that are going to be consistent and free forever. So it becomes just a matter of maintenance then, the costs. But after a certain point, they start to see the benefit of this savings. And this is not only money, it's also goodwill, it's also doing good for the environment. It's creating a system that in the end is going to create a better world. And I want to point out the timeline here is not just a series of years from year to year. It is also, we need to think of that as the trajectory toward a world of the future. And the fact is that survival represents a tiny doorway in the future. No matter what kind of politics we have, no matter what kind of life we live or arguments we espouse, we all have to make it through that one single window. There's only one reality that is going to unfold, and whether or not we make it through that doorway of survival depends on whether or not we adapt to a world that is coming down the pike. So we can waste our time kind of going along this train, which I have to say is the whining train. I heard a lot of arguments from the company official about things like we need to protect jobs, we need to keep prices low, we need to work within the regulatory atmosphere, the political atmosphere, that kind of thing. All of that to me is beside the point. It really seems like it's whining. That here's this train of whining that is very easy to take. We all participate in it, but it's beyond the point. The real point is, are we going to be able to make it to a world where we can survive? So every player can take this leap of imagination. Like, for instance, one of the constituents that they talked about, the power company talked about, was poor people. They want to keep power cheap for poor people. Well, that's the whining train. That's expediency here. And it's very noble, yes, but there's a better way to help poor people, like, for instance, raising the minimum wage. They could spend their time on that. If poor people wanted to participate in this, they could do something like go out and purchase a very expensive LED light, like a $15 light bulb. And this takes a certain amount of effort, they can carry that light bulb around in every room they occupy. Yeah, I know that's kind of a weird idea, but think about it. 150 years ago, nearly everybody in the world did that, carried a candle around the house from one room to another. So it's not that we can't do it, it's that it's hard for our imagination to get to that place. So at a certain point, they too begin to accumulate the benefit of the savings here. And I want to point out that this whole area represents benefit for everybody. It's not just me that saves money on my solar panels. I'm sharing the power with other people, and as a result, the whole world gets better because I'm not using carbon. So, because I'm an artist and I can't help myself, I'm going to do a little drawing here of a guy. There you go. What are you going to do? I'm a bloody artist. So, I want to point out that we have been drilling for the wrong black gold. When we put our effort into exploiting fossil fuel, it's not only ruining the environment, but not everybody gets to participate in that. The black gold we need to be after is this stuff. It's the savings, the better world that is available to every single person. There is nobody who can't use their imagination to make some kind of an investment that's going to be better for everybody in the long run. Because the fact is, this will never run out. It keeps getting bigger as time goes on. Everybody gets to participate, and we all have to end up in the same place in the future, that tiny doorway of survival. So let's just buck up and do it all together.